Hello and welcome to this episode of the Music City Mindset. The Music City Mindset can be found on all platforms. Any platform where you consume podcasts, we are there. You just have to search for Nashville Fit Magazine and then scroll down and you can go back through all of the old episodes if that's what you want to do. But let me tell you, we got a spicy episode here today. And I say that because I'm not the only one bringing the heat in the kitchen right now. Here to my left, co-owner of Board and Brush, a sculpture artist, the best self-taught cake decorator that I've ever seen, my best friend of almost 30 years, Evan Butler.
Thank you.
And right across from me, the one that agreed to start this whole thing with me, a Glencliff great, TSU legend, your OG's OG, your favorite trainer's favorite trainer, at Training Corner on Instagram, Mr. Deon Giddens.
Yes, sir.
The intros, man. This dude, he got the best intro ever. Like,
Man,
ever.
y'all keep getting better, so the intro's got to keep getting better, man. I got to match y'all's energy.
There it is.
I need y'all to help me kind of think through some things that I've been pondering on. I noticed that all of us, really all of us, do something that requires a level of creativity. And you do it because you're inspired on your methods of what you do. Obviously, this podcast is a level of creativity. Training programs. Not doing necessarily anything revolutionary,
Right.
but how you pair static with dynamic, the rep counts. You have your go-tos, your styles, your methods. Obviously, any kind of art. And we do it with our methods, but we do it because what we do makes people feel something, right? Like a good training program that someone buys into
Right.
can change their life.
Yeah.
And it's a known thing for, centuries. Art moves people. But you have to do it in a way, if it becomes your profession, that it actually people like. But if you have authenticity, you're not chasing people's likes. And we've all met people across my career. I've met people that were too stubborn and stuck in their methods and not able to pivot, and they don't actually make their passion profitable. Versus people that are so obsessed with just the likes and the clicks and things that they lose a part of themselves.
Right.
So what is something that y'all have done to kind of balance that where you're still staying within your methods and giving people what they want? Because when you're tied to your product, we want praise and love through our product,
Right.
not at us.
Not the spotlight.
Not the spotlight,
Okay.
but we want our product to be the spotlight, right?
Right.
So like how have you balanced trying to stay with your methods, but giving people what they want so you can still put food on your table?
So essentially just being true to yourself is what
Right.
Yeah. So for me, I know in the training field, right, it's a lot of smoke and mirrors, I guess, is what I'm saying. So over the years, what I've been doing this over 15 years now, I just made it a point to kind of keep myself out of the spotlight, so to speak. But to feed your family, you got to have some type of flash and some type of surface at some point, right? So the way I just kind of go about it is, it's okay with being uncomfortable and putting yourself out. That's a must in order to grow, right? We got to do that. But if it feels weird, it's like it's a difference between being uncomfortable and something feeling not right.
Yeah.
And I kind of teeter on that line. You know what I mean? So me, every Instagram post with my shirt off, that's not who I am, right? But at the same time, it has to be a point to where you put yourself out in the spotlight. So I teeter between being uncomfortable and something not feeling right. Whatever that in between is, has kept me going over the last 15 years. That's what I say. Because at the end of the day, what is it to be the best kept secret in business?
Yeah.
It gets you nowhere.
That's a very
You know
valid
what I mean?
point.
So
Yeah.
if I'm a secret to the whole world and I'm trying to put myself out in the business aspect, it gets me nowhere as far as putting food on the table. So that's the uncomfortable part. So getting yourself out, but still teeter that line.
Yeah.
Right, that's what I feel.
I think I love that because I feel like when you're able to be yourself and make it profitable, it's been hard for me. Like when I was just doing sculptures, I had to figure out time is money.
Right.
You know, wanting the piece to shine for itself. And I think we all teeter on the line of perfectionism, and we know there's nothing that's going to be absolutely perfect, no matter how much we want it. And I think back to art school. Art school was just like putting a little water on the seed. And until I got out of there and really started seeing that if you train a client the way you do, it's no different than me carving a sculpture. You're building something. You're helping somebody mold. What do you want to see? And it's the same thing with like painting a painting or doing a sculpture. What's the customer looking for versus what I can put in my soul into it.
Yes.
And I think keeping that authenticity, like you said, not becoming what everybody wants to see for clickbait or for this or that. I think it tends to bleed through and resonate when they see that authentic, and you see a return in it. People start noticing.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
I think I started seeing something with the gym where people, nothing I did specifically like social media online, but it was that people seeing how hard I train, seeing that I stay after, how much I put into like trying to keep the gym clean and straighten. And it's like when people see you put in effort.
Right.
And I think that's the same thing with like art, food, how training, if they can buy into your training program, if they see how much effort you put into preparing that. Because there was a quote that really like resonated with me with like the way I see things at the gym. And it said, who brings the food receives the love. But it wasn't who brings the best food. It wasn't who brought the prettiest food. And to me, that spoke that it's who sees that we put in effort.
You got to put the work in.
Right. You just brought something. Like I was at a really fancy shindig over the weekend, and I brought some brownies from Kroger. But like when the host was like taking everyone through the tour of what is the spread of the food, she didn't leave out that Blake from Music City Muscle brought these brownies here. Right. And it's like, I'm almost like, don't tell people that. But it started realizing that like it meant so much to her. Right. This is all effort.
Right.
And I think that can resonate with no matter what we do with what we have to be credit for. That quote was actually in a cookbook that was written by this lady here. So unless y'all got anything else, let's go ahead and get into this. Without further ado, our guest here, she was originally born in India. She's graduated top of her class in India and with high honors from the Culinary Institute in America. She's won the James Beard Award of Excellence, along with more awards than I could list right now. She's a mother and a wife. She's the owner of Chauhan's Marsala and Ale House, and that's been open for 10 years in this city in Nashville. Wow. She's an author, 5 times Chopped champion on the Food Network, 2 times Tournament of Champion winner. She's won so much that I don't even think they're letting her compete anymore.
She had to be a judge now.
Yeah, just judging now. I mean, you can't turn on Food Network without seeing her. The dancing spice queen herself, Maneet Chauhan.
Thank you. I should just let you guys talk. Does wonders for my ego. So thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
The concept of the show essentially is talking to people that are growing the city of Nashville, but not from here. So far, you have come the furthest from your origin, from anyone we've talked to. So let's just start there. Punjab.
I was born in Punjab. Yes.
Okay, I didn't know if I was saying that right. Yes. I didn't want to butcher that. I tried. So what was your neighborhood, your community, your family dynamic? What was it like growing up for you?
So I was born in northern India and I grew up in eastern India. That's where my parents were working. And my dad, an engineer, my mom, principal of a school. We grew up in a community where there were people from all different states of India. Now, the fun part about India is when you talk about the cuisines of India, right? Like one of the biggest oxymorons is Indian food, because Indian food is really broken down into regional aspects, right? Like we think of chicken tikka masala as Indian food. Hey, newsflash, that was actually invented in England. It's not even an Indian dish, right?
Oh.
But that's the amazing part about India, is each and every region, each and every micro region has a completely distinct cuisine of its own. So I was the kid who would finish dinner at home, go over to my neighbors' houses, tell them that my parents hadn't fed me, so can I sit and eat with you? And it was incredible because to me, as you mentioned earlier, like food brings people together. And I think that's the time that I realized why I wanted to be in this industry. Because you could have a conversation with anybody over food, right? One of my neighbors didn't know Hindi or English, the two languages I knew. She spoke a regional language called Telugu. I spent most of my childhood in her house without even speaking the same language, right?
Wow.
Only over food. And I would walk into the kitchen. I would ask, I would be the obnoxious why kid, but to me, the why was all about food. It was like, why are you heating the oil before you're adding the spices? What are these spices? Why are you doing this? And why? So I got regional Indian training very early on in life. And I think it was because of the fact that I was shameless enough to just walk up to somebody and, what are you eating? Can I try a bite of that? Right?
You sound like me.
Yeah, and it really, I think there was something amazing about it. It opened so many doors to a lot of different cultures, a lot of different languages, a lot of different ingredients that weren't being used in my house. So I grew up in a time in India. Of course, I'm dating myself right now. I know that I look really young, but
She
hey,
does.
guys,
Oh, you
yeah.
do.
Day over 30.
There was, everybody was training or studying to be an engineer or a doctor. And if you're thinking really outside the box, maybe an accountant or a lawyer.
Yeah.
And here yours truly wanted to be a chef, right? First of all, it was like barely acceptable to be a chef.
That's what I was going to ask. Like,
Yeah.
how was that received? Like,
Yeah,
from the community?
and then on top of that, you're a girl and you want to be a chef, right? So there was a lot of that naysaying. To me, I think I am really blessed because my parents were always, they're like, do whatever you want. Just make sure that you're the best at it. Because mediocrity doesn't have space in anything that you do, whatever career that you want. And that was it. I was a terrible student till my 12th grade. And then I realized that, once I decided I wanted to do hotel management, because that was the path in India to get into the kitchens. I topped and aced each and every class because I was doing something that I loved, right? And I, again, back to the earlier question that that you posed on passion and livelihood, right? I think I was really lucky to choose the profession that I'm obsessed with, right? It's not a profession for me. To me, it's a lifestyle. This is how I live. This is how I thrive. And I'm very, excited about being there. And that was it. So I did my undergrad in India, asked one of my instructors, which was the best, culinary institute in the entire world to go to. And without even batting an eyelid, he said the CIA, which, by the way, is the Culinary Institute of America.
Yeah.
Before you think I'm cooler than a chef. and that was it. That was the path.
So it was a no-brainer to come here to try to train at that institute because it was the best.
It was a no-brainer, yeah.
So him and I playing sports, us specifically, and other people we've talked to and even had on the show, coming from neighborhoods where there really was only one option to change that. That's a conversation we've had a lot about, like, what do you choose to do when you have, like, what you feel is limited options to that.
I mean, I agree. I think there is always, again, back to what you said, creativity, right?
Yeah.
All of us are creative enough that even if we see that this is the path, right? We are the kind of people who are like, oh, there's a fence over there. We can climb over the fence, right? And let's see what's on the other side of the fence.
Right.
It's like, that there was the poem, which is The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost,
Yes.
right? And he ends it by, I took the road less traveled by, and that has made all the difference, right? And I think that's what all of us have done, sitting right over here, taken the path less traveled by.
Yeah, and I always compare, like, being a trainer or being in that creative mode to cooking and being a chef. I mean, because we can all take. I mean, I'm a terrible cook, by the way. So
That's fantastic. It keeps us in business. And I am an awful trainer.
Yeah. Okay. So
Though my trainer says I'm an awful trainee, I'm dead. No, that is no, Maria. I didn't say that.
Because I was like, man, but it's just taking something, and we can all take a chicken.
Yeah.
Right. But you might do, I don't know, lemon pepper. I might do barbecue. You might do something else. But the way that you put it together has been displayed, through your passion and your creativity.
And also it is like when you're training someone, you are looking at, that person, and you're seeing how much they can do or what they are good at, and then you go ahead and train them according to what their interest is, so that the interest in training stays.
Yes.
It's the same with us, right? When you were talking about the chicken, right? We take the chicken, we still pay homage to what the ingredient is, and then put our own spin on it and our own twist on it. And I think that's what makes it so fun.
See, that's so cool to me.
Well, talking about limited options as far as what we grew up in, I feel like all four of us, but also in the kitchen. I've heard you talk before about if you don't have that ingredient, and I think we all grew up watching our mothers, our grandmothers, when things were scarce, they could pull a meal out of nothing, and did like go into that woman's house, couldn't speak the same language. Are those things you saw growing up where we're going to make something out of what we got here?
You just gave me goosebumps by saying that. That is true, right? We grew up in a really in a small town, which was probably a little bit bigger than a village, right? And every Sunday, Dad, he had a scooter, a two-wheeler. Dad and I, we would go to the farmer's market, and we would buy, the produce for that week, right? Over here, if I think about it, I am like, oh, I want spinach. Let me go right now across to the grocery store and get it. There was no option at that time. You buy what you need on a Sunday, and you make do till, the next Sunday, right? And everything was seasonal. And there was so much of love, so much of thought, so much of heritage in each and every bite. Because my mom, she would make something, and that was something that she learned from her grandmom or her mom. And now there are things that I do. So food, I think, is such a powerful connector of generations, of passing heritage on, that like you mentioned, like your mom making the food, right? And not for a moment, now as we are older, we realize that, there were limited resources at that time, but they still made do with it, right? And now you think about what is your favorite food memory? It's probably that one bite which they literally conjured out of thin air. And that is our favorite food memory. And I think that to me is just spectacular.
I think that's why the show Chopped is so popular, because if you came up poor, that's every day.
That's true. That is true. Absolutely. I mean, I think it is such a, and all of us have the Chopped moment. I know I'll have it for dinner today. When I open the refrigerator, I'm like, okay, what do I have? Okay, I'll go ahead and now, I need to make sure that something is delicious. I need to make sure that something is nutritious. I need to make sure that something, it's a balanced meal for the kids, and it's filling. You've got to do that, right? Yeah. Hey, listen, let's face it, right? Chopped judges, me included, are nothing compared to the judging or the judgmental tone that the kids have in front of us.
That was,
Hello?
What? You say what? Because I was about to say, what is the pressure like at home, being the elite chef that you are, but at home making a meal for kids?
The truth is that if you ask them whose food do you prefer, mom or dad's, they'll say dad's. That's the truth of it, right? It's a great.
That's mind blowing.
It is absolutely fantastic, because they keep me grounded and they keep me humble. Because anytime I start feeling like too, big for my britches, it'll be like, okay, mom, dad cooks better than you, and you're like, simmer down now. So
I know, that's great.
And dad's in trouble.
I know.
You once said that during your time at the Culinary Institute, you never imagined that you would be where you are now with owning the restaurants and owning everything that you've built, the empire that you and Vivek have built. So at that point, you're already at like the best culinary institute that the world has to offer. So when you were there, you couldn't imagine that you would have what you have now. When did you start putting it together that this was something special, your talents, your drive was special, and that what became the vision? And if it wasn't at that point, like, what was motivating you to cook at such a high level?
I mean, I still don't believe it. Like, that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
To me, I mean, CIA was absolutely fantastic, right? You're surrounded with like-minded people, right? You're under the same roof as 2,000 other people who are as obsessed about food as you are. You are surrounded by some of the best teachers, best chefs in the industry, best ingredients, best equipment, right?
Yeah.
But that's not what real life is all about, right?
Right,
Because
right.
when I had come from India, I had come on a student visa, right? And I'm like, great, this is fantastic. As soon as I graduate, somebody is going to hire me. I got so many job offers, but as soon as I would say that my paperwork needed to be sponsored, everybody would be like, whoa, right?
You don't even think about like
So there was that added layer of that, of trying to figure out, right, like, okay, if I want to work over here, how am I going to stay? So it was really interesting around that time. My uncle and aunt, until that time I was training to be a pastry chef. Because to me, when I talk about, like, when you're talking about sculpting and cake, like, that's my jam. I absolutely love doing that.
I would have thought that.
Right?
Yeah. Mhm.
And at that time, the last thing that I wanted to do was cook Indian food, because everybody cooked Indian food back home, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Not over here. And when I went to the CIA, some of my friends, I was the only Indian on campus for better part of the 2 years that
Really?
I was there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
And
awesome.
I took some of my friends to Indian food. I had just come from India. 3 fresh meals a day. Everything is seasonal. Everything is made from scratch. And I took my friends to an Indian restaurant for lunch. After my first bite, I'm like, and they were trying to be very polite. They're like, yeah, that's nice. I'm like, no, this isn't. Because it was one of those $8.95 all-you-can-eat buffets. And you know what? And you've got to give it to them. Like, this is, when you think of a lot of ethnic food as to what has happened in America, a lot of people who immigrated to America, when they came, the one talent that they had was making food, right? That's how they fed their family. That's how they, took care of their family. So it wasn't a passion per se. It was a business for them.
Business
Right?
first,
Yeah.
not the love and the
Exactly.
passion. I got you.
So a lot of the business, what did it result in? It resulted in buying the cheapest ingredients. So when you buy the cheapest ingredients, you do not get the best quality end result, right? Taking shortcuts like frying as opposed to sautéing, or So there was a lot of that. And when I ate that food, I'm like, shame on me. I know this cuisine. If I am not going to, in some way, tell the world about the beauty and the seasonality and the absolutely gorgeous spices that are used in Indian cuisine, then I'm wasting a talent that I've been given. So around that time, right after graduation, my uncle and aunt were opening an Indian restaurant, and they were like, till the time you're looking for a job, if you want to come and work here, you can. We'll be happy to sponsor your paperwork, etc., etc. Well, I was there for 4 years. So at the age of, I think, 23, I was running, a kitchen of around like 10 older Indian men, right, who were not used to taking instructions from women, right? And then we expanded from 130-seater to 300 people. We started doing banquets and stuff. And it was amazing, because not only did it teach me, Indian food, the ingredients that you get in America, how to elevate it, but it also gave me this incredible customer-facing interaction, right? And I realized that with Indian food, it's not a cuisine that is like, oh, let's make some good barbecue, people will love it. It is winning one person at a time. So it's I realized that getting into Indian cuisine was a sprint. It was not a marathon. Sorry, it's not. It was a marathon and not a sprint,
Yeah.
right? Because it will, right? And there's still a lot of people who are like, oh, curry. And I'm
Right.
like, okay, come to the restaurant, eat the food, and then still say, oh, curry. So that is like you've got to. There is that educational component also in what I do, which makes it really rewarding.
But I think that speaks more about you too, because you being aware of that, okay, this is not an insult if I say, hey, what about curry? Well, let me prove it to you then. So I feel like he took that approach, which is smart, because I think just being aware of what's going on.
It also comes with age, right?
I
When
guess,
you're
yeah.
young, then there is a lot of what, you don't like curry? What
Right.
What is curry? Like, all of that. And then with age, you are like, you know what? You're not going to win people by fighting with them. You're going
Right.
to win people by just, the proof is in the pudding. Like,
Right.
so the proof is in the chicken tikka masala or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It seems like very early on in your career, and you were given credit for starting off with this very young in the line of things, but it seems like between being Indian at the Institute, the restaurant there, being a woman, even the next step in your journey, Vermilion, did I say that
Yes,
right?
yes.
You were up against 40 men for that job. And then on top of it, now your growing passion for Indian food, which stereotypically, as much as I love it, it's not known for like luxury, high-end dining and stuff like that. So were you gravitating towards like having to break stereotypes and
Which is kind of ironic that you're saying that, because Indian cuisine is the one cuisine which is known for all its royal cuisines.
right?
Right?
Okay, so the Americanized version.
Yes, and that is like when I say about 895
Yeah.
buffets, a lot of these buffets
White
have
people
done
Indian food.
They have done disservice.
I'll say it.
Right?
Watered down.
Yeah.
No, but I do think that there is a place for the buffet. There are times that, Vivek and I, we go and we have the buffets and we enjoy it.
Yeah.
Right? But then it is the same as, when you go to, let's say, you go to a fast food place and you have a burger, right? And then you go to a really upscale place and you have a Wagyu burger, right?
Yeah.
A burger is a burger. You can get it like street or you can get it upscale, and that's with Indian food, right? The thing with Indian food in America is the fact that it hasn't been explored a lot. It hasn't been presented in its different avatars.
Yeah.
And royal cuisine is one of them, right? Like if you think about it, there was so much royalty. There still is royalty in India, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of the food that is made it's rich, right?
Yeah.
Ingredients like saffron and cashew. There is gold leaf on everything, like things which are not easily accessible around the world go into those sauces. And the curries and the sauces, they take so much time to make.
Yeah.
Right? It is
I think it's viewed as a very complex cuisine.
it's a very complex cuisine, right? And not many people, and that's why there are a lot of shortcuts which have been taken,
Yeah.
right? So I do think that there is that perception which needs to be changed, and I think it's slowly changing. I do think that it is going to, there are a couple of restaurants in New York, etc., which have opened up, which are doing upscale, Indian food, etc. And I think that is amazing. But in the end of the day, to me, if I need to do upscale, I will do upscale, right? But I am not fascinated with tweezer cuisine. That's not my style. To me, it's the street food which I am obsessed with, right? Because that is like the heart and soul of the people of whichever place you are in. And if you enjoy that and if you give reference to it, you're doing something right.
I love that you brought that up, because India, unless you've been under a rock, is one of the most beautiful places in the world. Has so much beauty, fabrics, Taj Mahal. I mean, you name it, just beautiful, ornate, gorgeous artwork. I mean, all the way around. And then to talk about royal cuisine, it all, from the food to the experience, everything.
And it is such an amalgamation. This is the one thing which people don't realize about India. because over the years there are so many different cultures which have come to India, and India has made it their own, right? And this kind of really translates into food too. So Goa is a region in Western India. It is a coastal region where Portuguese occupied that for a very long time, right? So that cuisine is Indian Portuguese, right? It's in its own. Then there was Pondicherry, which was occupied by the French, so there is Indian French. There is in Eastern India, there is a Chinese, right? Indian Chinese, which, by the way, in my book is the best Chinese on this planet, just saying it, right?
We gotta get
So good, right? But that, I think, is the most incredible part. Like, whoever came to India, we made it their own. This is what it is. And I think that's been like very fascinating about India.
Absolutely.
It seems like to kind of wrap up this chapter of your life, it seems like the emotional maturity you had to have in your early 20s to prove people wrong, to go up against men chefs, change perceptions of the cuisine that you grew up on. Like, I don't think that I was anywhere close to
I don't think that was
mature.
emotional maturity. I think
Okay.
it was more stubbornness, and I will show you.
Okay.
That's the truth of it.
Okay.
That's the absolute truth of it. I would love to say, yes, I was so mature. No, not at all. I was like, somebody told me you can't do it. I'm like,
I'm gonna show you.
beep you, I will show you how to do it.
Oh, you ain't got to beat
Yeah.
yourself here.
So
Oh, I love that.
yeah.
Fuck you, I will show
There
you.
we
Yes.
go. There we
Yes.
go.
So when you took your friends to that buffet, and I'll make this quick, did you immediately feel an obligation that I need to show you this is not what I was telling you about?
Absolutely. I immediately, the next day, one of my friends who had a car, we went to the grocery store, couldn't find Indian ingredients, so whatever I could find, I came home and I made food for them, and I'm like, this is how it's done. And as I was in baking and pastry classes, our chef instructor would, like, I still remember there was a focaccia class, and he's like, whatever you guys want to put on a focaccia. So everybody was doing their usual, like, sun-dried tomatoes, olives, blah, 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 the usual culprits that you find on a focaccia. And yours truly went and got some okra, and I made an okra vegetable, and I put that right on top of focaccia. Or I made some lentils, dals, because this is something that we eat on a regular basis. And you put that on the focaccia, and he looked at me and he's like mind blown. I don't know how to react to this, right? And then I had a little bit of time, because I've always worked very fast, and that's what really helps me in competitions.
Yeah.
I had some time. I decided to make some chutneys on the side. I'm like, there should be a dipping sauce with that. And they're like, okay, so it was fun.
This has already been incredible. I feel like I'm already looking at cuisine completely differently. We're going to take a short break, and then we are going to come back after a word from our sponsors and hear more with Maneet Chauhan. And we are back here spicing it up with the Spice Queen herself, Maneet Chauhan. Maneet, we kind of covered kind of what gave you your, I guess, confidence, your backbone, your stubbornness, as you called it, the chip on your shoulder, to become who we all know. So where we've gotten to now, I think your career kind of at some point hit a launch pad. So how did you actually end up getting on the Food Network?
It's so interesting when people say launchpad. I think it's with everybody, right? With all our careers. what people see is the tip of the iceberg, right? It's not the 90% which has gone, which is under the water, which is like the tears, the heartbreaks, the sweat, the blood, right? Like all of that, the gore which has gone into it, right? So I don't think that there was a defining moment when there was, that this is my launch pad and I'm going to like take off, right? It's been a very steady rise. And most of it, I think, is because of a big problem that I have, which is called saying yes to everything, right? It has given me so many opportunities. It's given me so many absolutely enriching conversations, like pretty much this one, right?
Yeah.
Where you always walk out being so much more enriched than you were when you walked in, right? So that is pretty much, I was working at a restaurant. And nowadays with chefs, PR has become a part of what you do. So morning news, you go and show how to cook something on TV, blah, blah, blah. I was in New York and our PR company went ahead and got me a slot on Iron Chef. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I went up, the first time I was on Food Network, I went up against Chef Morimoto.
Morimoto, I remember.
Okay. I love saying that I came a respectable second among two people. It sounds better than saying that I lost.
Yes.
But hey, that's Morimoto. He's a legend, right?
Right.
And that was my toe in the door, right? And from there, I was invited to be on the next Iron Chef, which was a series. From there, I was invited to be a guest judge on, I think, the second or the third season of Chopped, right? Next, I was invited to be a permanent judge on Chopped. And then, so that's literally how the progression has happened. It is just a matter of saying yes to any opportunity that comes along the way, but then also creating the opportunities, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, I approached Food Network and I said that, do you know that I have a pastry background? And they're like, what? We didn't know that, right? And because of that, I got to be on pastry shows and stuff. So it's interesting. Like you've got to tell the world, what you know, what you do, and then, after some time the world does come after you. But it is not that it's not that I'm comfortable at this moment that, oh, I'm at a spot that opportunities will keep on coming my way. No, that's not it. We are creating, we are constantly reaching out, we are constantly saying that, hey, this is an interesting opportunity, let's talk about it, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's constantly a work in progress, because I don't think that in life or in your career you'll ever reach the point where you're like, this is it. I think this is it is when you're ready to retire, right? You're like, this is it. I have achieved what I thought that I could have, and we are there. So it's going to continue.
As you like your climb of being on Food Network more often, it obviously some of them are more like game shows than actual like tutorials, right? And I'm sure there's very talented chefs that couldn't handle that game show element. What do you think it was about your abilities or your traits that allowed you to be who you were not on TV and then still be able to thrive with the confines of different shows? Because it seems very different.
It's very different. It's very different from cooking in the restaurant. But I think what really works in my favor is the fact that I am a fantastic multitasker. Right? It is like at times Vivek and I have these conversations, like he walks, he walks into the dining room and I have my computer and I'm working on some recipes. My iPad is over there, talking to somebody on the phone. I'm taking care of the kids while dinner is being made, right? And this is natural for me. He's like, why can't you do one thing at a time? I'm like, why are you jealous that I can do more than one thing at a time, right? So there is that entire conversation. But I think that I'm very good at multitasking, and then whatever I do, I'm very cognizant of the amount of time that it takes. I think this is the one thing which I've gotten from my dad is the OCD about time management, right? So it's like if I have to show up at 1 o'clock somewhere, I am going to be in the car like at around 12:45 downstairs. Right now, nowadays I've become a little bit like, like initially I would show up like, half an hour early, and people are still setting up the dining room. So nowadays I'm like, so time management is it's critical for me, because it's a sign of respect. Right? It's a sign of respect that not only do you value your own time, you also value the people around you, their time. Right? And it's a big sign of respect in my eyes.
So when I saw you on Iron Chef and they called out Morimoto, there's two people that almost no chef wanted to go against, and that was Morimoto and Mario Batali. That I've seen people almost give up, still go through the show, but I saw you just turn on your jets and fight through it. Where most people, the intimidation of somebody so great, and you went, I'm going to give him a run for his money.
And I did.
You did.
And you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you made a drink?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. It was, we got leeks as, what the ingredient, the secret ingredient was leeks.
What is leeks?
Leeks like,
Explain that. People don't
they're a vegetable like onions. They're in
Okay.
the onion family.
Okay.
So it does have that sharpness of an onion. And then you've got to, I also made a dessert out of it, which was like really interesting. So, because to me, I mean, I have been through so many different experiences in life that competition is, I mean, I do get very worked up. I'm not saying that I don't. I get worked up. I'm like, okay, you've got it. Like there's a lot of self-conversation going on. You got this, Maneet. Come on. Yes, you can do it. But competition doesn't faze me, because there are only two outcomes. Either you win or you lose. That's it.
Yeah.
Right?
And
And
you
you will
learn.
learn from your losses much more than you'll ever learn from your wins.
We talk about that
Yeah,
all the
yeah, we
time.
talk about
that all
We-
the time
we
with
talk about
sports.
that a
Yeah.
lot.
And that's
Yeah.
basically what it is.
Yeah.
So if you don't, if you don't, like, if that is not the only focal, if winning is not the only focal point, then things are actually fairly easy.
Huh.
Yeah.
Then, but then I feel like this is what
Yeah.
you've gone through. Is like this is nothing compared to
yeah,
what
it
I
is.
what I came from,
It
what I
is.
had to deal with. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
let's roll with it.
Yeah, that
Like,
is what it
whatever
is.
happened, let's do it. Yeah.
So at what point did you move to Nashville?
Oh, Nashville is a very interesting story. So it's been 10 years. And Chopped
Congratulations.
had, thank you. And Chopped had taken off. And it was really interesting. I was getting a lot of, I had just had my daughter. And when I had my daughter, I started a business of my own. I was like, okay, I'm going to do, I've got a young daughter. She's going to, grow up. Looking for people around who inspire her, and the closest person, as a woman surviving this world is me. And I wanted to show her that not only do you survive, but you thrive. And the only example that I had was me.
Wow.
So I started my own business, and around that time, and this was like, TV was going on, book writing, consulting, and all of that. And I was getting phone calls from across the country, like obvious places like, San Francisco, would you like to open a place here? Seattle, like places with a huge Indian, population that you know about. And in between, I get a phone call that, would you like to open something in Nashville, right? And my husband and I, and this is, keep this in mind, this is 2011. This is when Nashville was not as cool as
No,
it is
it's
right
not, it
now,
was not the
right?
same. It's not the same. Nashville,
And both Vivek and I, we looked at each other, and our first reaction was like, who the fuck moves to Nashville? Right? Because we didn't know. We had no
That's kind
idea.
of what I'm asking you.
Yeah, we had no idea about what Nashville is.
Yeah.
But we are also the kind of people who explore each and every opportunity that comes our way, right? Because
Okay.
I mean, like Vivek is, he's also, we met when we were doing our undergrad together, and then, he was in Europe, and then he was in Southeast Asia. He got the Businessman of the Year in Indonesia. Indonesia. So he has a exalted career of his own, right?
Were y'all
Yes.
together during that time?
We had actually a long distance relationship where this was before iPad and like FaceTime.
Yeah.
I still remember my lunch break used to be the time that he was driving home in the night because of the time difference.
Yeah.
And I used to go to the the gas station and buy those international cards where you had to scratch and then
remember that,
do-
yeah.
and I used to call him, and then once the 30 minutes were up, that's up. We actually had a 4 years long distance relationship where we didn't see each other, right?
Wow.
And then after 4 years, we were like, either we split or let's like just meet up and get married. So that's basically what it was. So both of us, we came to Nashville, and Nashville was love at first landing. There is something
Really?
about Nashville.
Man, that
I mean,
sounds so
people
good.
who
I've been saying
belong,
it. Yeah.
people who belong to Nashville have a calling, and I mean, like we seriously believe that we in an alternate life we were over here because it was this. There's something about this place which just spoke to us,
Amen.
right?
Wow.
Not only in terms of like that feeling, but it also was kind of accentuated by the fact that we wanted to do something that Nashville hadn't seen, right? Ethnic cuisine at a level which was fun and approachable and not stuffy, right? And that's how literally it started. At that time, we were still planning to be Nash Yorkers because we lived in New York, right? And we love New York, and we were like, we are going to commute between Nashville and New York because Vivek had his businesses over there. It's the South. The 6-month project took around 2 years. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Along those 2 years, we found out we were expecting baby number 2. So we were like, that's fine. Right, we'll open the restaurant November 18, 2014. We'll open the restaurant. The baby is due in March. I'll stay for a month. We were, we had a 3-year-old. We were in a hotel. We're like, this is fantastic. The baby had plans of his own. The morning of November 18, 2014, our son decided to be born 3 months early. Right?
The day of the restaurant.
day of the opening.
The opening of the restaurant.
Wow.
He was born 3 months early. I think he wanted to join the party. He did not realize that he had to spend a couple of months in the NICU. So he was in the NICU for 3 months. And around that time, we decided, we're like, if he is so adamant in being a Nashvilleian, who are we to stop it, right?
Wow.
And that's what we did. We went to New York while he was still in the NICU. Vivek and I went to New York, wrapped up our house over there, right? Loaded everything in a truck, moved over here, and decided that we were going to make the best of the situation. And that's what we did.
That's incredible to
Yeah,
hear. Like,
wow.
we named our son Karma because
Oh,
he
shout
was
out to
born
Karma.
with his own karma and our karma in tow. But yeah, that's how Nashville happened. And then once we were here, we were here at a very vulnerable time for us because you have a preemie, you are living in a hotel with a 3-year-old. Nashville embraced us. Nashville gave us, hugged us, and said that it's okay. It'll be all okay, and that's why we stayed. Yeah.
wow, that's incredible.
So, since I actually had the honor of helping install your draft beer systems,
Yes.
the building you opened up your
Yeah.
your first restaurant here. There's other concepts in that same building.
Yes.
The third one, you made a call to Brian
Yes.
to open up his concept there. We've had Brian and Mikey on the show here. Incredible people.
Love them.
But is it popular? Does it happen often where a judge for Chopped or something like that uses that show to recruit like partnerships and talent
Well,
like that?
in all honesty, Mikey and I, we go back at least 20, 25 years. We started working in Chicago together.
Okay.
And so our friendship predates Chopped.
Okay.
Right? And then along the way, he met Brian. I always joke with, like, I still remember Brian had cooked this incredible meal when we were in Chicago, and Mikey was like, "You've got to come over, you've got to try," you know.
Yeah.
They had just started dating, and I went over there, and I joked till date. I told Brian at that time, I'm like, dump him and get married to me, right? Like, his food was so good, right? So forget about marry me chicken, like he did this, right? So we joked till date, right?
Yeah.
And then when Brian was on Chopped, right? They send us who are competing the night before. And when I read Brian, I called up the producer and I told them, I said, listen, I need you to know that I know him. I know them, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Conflict of
And
interest.
yeah. And my producer said, Maneet, you've been working with us for over 7 years. And if there is any person who is going to be very fair, like, I would name you as that person. I am not worried. So I was worried that I might lose my friendship with Mikey and Brian, because I had to be honest. They were, I mean, it is like, it's a crazy show, right?
Yeah.
And so there were times that I was saying something and you could see Brian's face become this small, and I'm like, oh God, please, I'm so sorry. I love you. I know. But that was it. And I think right after that, we went out, he won, and we went out for drinks, and we were celebrating, and we were sitting, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? And they were like, we're doing this underground, supper club. And I said, like, I told him, I'm like, why don't you guys come down to Nashville? Just see what Nashville is, because Nashville had given a lot to us, like, as a platform. And I'm like, if you like it, maybe we can, we can open up the restaurant if you want to go ahead and run it. And that's literally how it happened.
Wow.
Have I called people from the show? Once or twice. Has it worked out? No. Right? Because
have other judges done that, or is that like?
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, they are, at times you meet people and you're like, this person will work, will work great with me. But yeah, a lot of the younger generation thinks that being on TV is like, if I ask them, why do you want to be a chef? And they're like, because I want to be on TV. I'm like, think of another profession. Be good at what you're doing, and then TV will come after you. It's not the other way around,
There you
right?
go.
Yeah.
And that,
I love
and
that.
and a lot of young people, like you were saying, right? We were talking about social media and stuff. A lot of people, like, they see somebody making something on social media, and they're like, we can do it. And I'm like, okay, you can try, right? Like, it is. Each and every craft requires you to put work into it. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't come to you overnight.
Well, speaking of social media, Chauhan's has now been open 10 years, which means you survived COVID in this city. So that says a lot about what you do in Nashville, embracing you. And everybody I've talked to got like their own take of like how to get through that time and chapter, especially that owns things where people come together. With that, you started doing a lot of like at-home videos. And I've talked in telling people that this was happening. So many people have brought up like what those videos, and listening to you explain, and like it's not just like, okay, you put the cumin seeds in and you wait till they sizzle. Like the way you explain things of like you put them in and you wait till they start dancing. Like people have like quoted that. And like you just have this infectious way of like making things relatable. Was that like when you started doing those videos during that time, was that like designate like I'm doing, like how did that happen? How strategic was that? Or is that just something that you just needed to be like, feel like you're in front of people with everything that was going on in the world?
I think the reason why I started that was because there were a lot of people who were reaching out to me feeling very alone and desolate, right? A lot of people were reaching out and they were like, and to me, I am the kind of person who always works with purpose, right? I'm a chef. I work on checklists. That's basically what it is. and somehow along the way, I was cooking at home. I was doing this every day, right? I think one of the reasons why those videos are so appealing is because how badly produced they are, right? That is the truth of it. I put
Just
I
the
put a
rawness of
stand.
it, just like, hey,
I put my phone on it, and I start doing what I'm doing, right? It is badly produced. I say it, but because it's badly produced, people relate to it.
Yeah.
This is me cooking at home for my family. That's it. It's no rocket science.
Authentic.
See, at
Right?
that time,
It's
everything being
Yeah.
at home, being relatable was like the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you had to have something to pull you in
Yeah.
and say, yeah. So I
It is
understand that.
to
yeah.
me, and that's literally the reason why I started. The reason why I started was that even if one person, through seeing this, says, "Oh, this is something different, and I can do it," and it'll get them out of their depression or their fog or their absolute acute sense of like what's happening, like that anxiety. Even if one person it gets out, then I've done my job. And that's literally how it started.
Well,
Yeah.
you did a really good job with that.
Thank you.
Swinging back to something you mentioned before, the iceberg reference. Obviously, it seems like, Nashville was love from the moment you landed the plane. But there's probably been a lot of heartache that doesn't get shined. It's not awards. But in sports, like we talked about earlier, like there's games that I've lost that I could tell you everything that happened in that game. And then there's games that we won by 50, and I couldn't tell you anything about the game. I just know we won.
Yeah.
And so, like, we learn more from the losses,
Yeah.
like you said. Was there any time that you, like, because you said it was like a linear, not a launch pad. Has there been a time where you, like, fell out of love with cooking, with the passion, with what you're doing that needed to be reignited?
I mean, there have been times where I have questioned my faith in people. Right? There are
Wow.
people who I considered family, people who I considered, right, who I would like give my right arm for, right? Who I thought were already very integral part of who, like, your future, right? People who the kids referred to as uncles or aunties and stuff,
Yeah.
right? Betrayal from those people has shaken my faith in people, right? And it's not happened once. It's happened so many times, right? And that's the interesting part about Vivek and me, right? Vivek, I'm the kind of person I meet somebody and I'm like, it's roses and champagne, right? While Vivek is a lot more cautious, and I think that's why it really works. Where he's like, okay, kind of, step on the brakes, like literally,
Yeah.
right? And that's kind of what works. But to me, those are the hurts which have been a lot more exponential than like being tired and being disillusioned by cooking, right? I always do go back to cooking even when I have gone through those phases. We had to close Chattable. We had to close Tanso. And as business owners, you've put so much heart and love into opening places. Let's not even forget talking about the amount of money you've put into it.
Yeah.
Closing businesses is not easy.
It's
But
hard.
getting backlash for closing a business, and I'm like, what? Like, are you kidding me? You think it's for our benefit that we are shutting restaurants down? So those are moments where I felt not as loved, and the silence was more deafening than anything else, right?
That's
People who you think
Yeah.
would be there for you, the silence was more deafening. So yes, there have been times, but I've always chosen to concentrate more on the positive which has been happening. That's what works for me, right? Spreading the positivity and kind of soaking in the positivity, I think that's what keeps me going. And yeah, and I think that's what it is.
One thing I've noticed talking to chefs that had a passion, now it's a profession, and you could say that with anyone. But see, chefs seem to be almost needing to go back to a place. Like the chefs that I know that have worked all over Europe, and they come back here and they do something, and when they need that new inspiration, they literally travel back to there. A lot of, like you mentioned, Chautable, like it seemed like the inspiration of that were like some of those Indian railways and things that have you gone back to? Is it in those moments where you need positivity? Is there somewhere you go back to feel like yourself again and to feel the embrace?
Not really.
Okay.
I mean, in the sense that I find inspiration everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? Like you were talking about your mom's dishes. I really want to go into that conversation and get like, what was that dish? Right? And that sparks something in me. I love talking to guests when they come to the restaurant and they are like, the one food memory. Or I still remember there was somebody who had come from Mexico City and we got into this whole discussion about tortillas and rotis, like they're pretty much the same thing, and then curries and moles. And to me, if your eyes are open, you will find inspiration everywhere. If your eyes are closed, inspiration will be hitting you with a jackhammer on your head and you will not get inspired. It's all a matter of, it all boils down to your attitude.
Yeah.
As simple as that.
With plating, you had mentioned like some of the things that like are important to you when you're creating a dish. You did say nutritious. You are working with a trainer, kind of getting a little bit, healthier lifestyle choices outside the restaurant. Do you really consider at that high level of a chef of like the macronutrients of something of an individual dish?
So more so at home.
Okay.
Right? I have two young, growing kids. I want to instill in them a very healthy lifestyle so that, tomorrow when they go out in the world, they make smart choices, right? The problem with our industry is that it's an industry of excesses, right? It's an industry of, we are going to go ahead and wrap up work, clean the kitchen by around 11 or 12. Okay, let's go out drinking. Younger days, right? You haven't eaten the whole day. Let's go ahead and eat something really greasy and, unhealthy at 1 o'clock in the night while you're pounding some shots and some drinks. And
That's how it goes.
That's basically what it is.
Yeah.
And then for the longest time, I mean, that's the lifestyle I lived, right? Because I could. Right, we would go out for to dine, and we would order 6 dishes, even though we would eat half of a dish. But because you're a chef, you need to know what's going on, and I think again it comes down to there was a time where both the kids had started, becoming really not as active, and really started putting on weight. Where I'm like, what am I doing? Right? They're seeing me. So if they see me train, right, they are going to, that's what they will want to do.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, so even when I'm making food, like both Vivek and I are very particular about that, right? Whenever we are making food, the fats that we use, we are constantly researching. Right? It is, the proteins that the kids are having, even the starches, like whatever it is. And the amazing part about Indian food is, if you think, like, everybody calls me the dancing spice queen, but the big thing is that spices came about as medicine, not as flavoring.
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
Yeah.
So it's like, for example, every night before Vivek goes to sleep, he goes ahead and he soaks like a tablespoon of fenugreek seeds, and that's the first thing that we drink in the morning when we get up, right? There are all of these fennel and cumin and turmeric, like so we incorporate all of that very much in our lifestyle, as to just to inspire the kids to live healthier. And then as we get old, that you need to live healthier, because that arrogance of youth of I will live through anything starts diminishing
Yeah, it
really
does.
fast.
So you would say like that personally has contributed to like just the longevity thus far, and like just doing what you do. Just
Absolutely.
Make sure you're training,
I think
staying in shape.
I also think that a big thing is portion control. Big thing is portion control. And I had started that off. And do I fall off the wagon? Yes, absolutely. I am the person who has the tendency to put on weight. Right, if you are eating a burger, I'll put on weight. Like that's my genetic makeup. But also the fact is that there was a time that I had I was doing MyFitnessPal. It was 1,200 calories to lose weight, and it gave me a great. I was counting each and every calorie. Or there was a time that I was doing this 4-4-4, which is 2 meals, like intermittent fasting till 12 o'clock, and then 2 meals of 4 ounces of protein, 4 ounces of fruits, and 4 ounces of vegetable, no carbs, no fats, and no sugars, right? It's not sustainable, but it does reset you. Right?
Yes.
And once it resets you, you know that the stomach is the most, right, expandable and like the most flexible muscle in your body. So the lesser you eat, the more your stomach shrinks. And once you're aware of, like when you're, people are like, oh, this is so tedious, weighing stuff and this and that. You're not doing it for the rest of your life. You can eyeball it, right? So even when I go out to eat, and if I order a salmon, I know what 4 ounces is, and I know when to stop, right? I'm like, I can have the rest tomorrow. It's not that it's going anywhere. So I think it's that self-awareness that we've got to train our minds to do.
Great answer.
Right?
Yeah.
Great answer. Yeah.
Yeah. So with kind of like what you're doing now, you now have the newest Eat.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that. How did that come out?
I mean, that is what like dreams are made of, right?
Yeah.
I still remember growing up in India, 9 o'clock on Sunday was the only time that we could see any Disney, comics or cartoons and stuff. And we would get up, make sure that we are watching that. And all I wanted to do as a kid was to visit Disney World. Like that was it. And to have Disney invite you to open a place on one of their own properties, I mean, it's like,
Wow.
I don't know if you guys can see goosebumps. It's
So
like,
surreal.
it
I
is,
can
it's
see it.
surreal.
Yeah.
It's surreal. That also Indian food. That
Yes.
also mainstream America, a cuisine that is not considered mainstream American yet, right? So that's basically how it came about, and it's really interesting. It's a QSR, which is a quick service restaurant. That means like you walk up to the counter, you order, you go and sit, and we make the food and get it over for you. It's not fine dining, but I love that. I love the fact that we can reach so many people in a location which is so mainstream. Yeah.
So in that linear progression that you've just been ascending since a young age, you're making dreams come true even now at this point in your career. Is there anything going on right now that you're allowed to talk about of like what's next?
I am the kind of person who does explore all the opportunities. I do think what is priority for me at the present moment is kind of making sure that what we have is being nourished, because post-COVID, it took a long time. It still is taking a long time for us to get to, pre-COVID numbers, right?
Yeah.
The BC numbers, the before COVID numbers, right?
Yeah.
So I think that is very important. There are a couple of really fun TV things which are coming up. So keep an eye out on Food Network. There's some fun stuff coming, and yeah, I mean it's like there are a lot of festivals that I am doing. Like I'm getting invited to do a lot of festivals. Like I was in, which gives me a great opportunity to meet people who've seen me on TV but don't have the direct one-to-one connection. That's wonderful. I went to Puerto Rico recently, and I'm going to Disney, and then I'm going to go to Healdsburg, and then I'm doing a cruise. So there are a lot of amazing life experiences happening because of whatever I have built so far, which makes it very interesting. Like I was in Pebble Beach. We went to, hole 7 to take a photograph. Right? It was like
Yeah,
this,
it's an iconic
in our,
place. Yeah,
in
yeah.
our golf outfit, even though we don't play golf. But hey, we did it. It's on the checklist. That's what it is. So I am enjoying life and experiences and just like thriving.
You're so busy. You're doing something all the time. Are you able, in your multitasking brain that you have, are you able to continue doing all of these things while like soaking in this moment that this, like what you're doing is so awesome? Like, do you pinch yourself and like this is happening, or is it just locked in?
I think the reason why I do what I do is because I live in the with the attitude of gratitude, because I am very grateful for the opportunities that I've gotten, but I'm also very grateful that I have not squandered those opportunities, right? Everybody gets opportunities. There are some people who grab it and there are some people who just let it go and lament the fact that, right, like, why didn't this happen to me? So I am very grateful for that. And that's what makes me, that's what wakes me up every day and saying, like, okay, what does today have for me, right? I love that. I love living in that world. But to me, I think the most amazing part about all of this is the fact that there is no, like in life, there is no stopping, right? It keeps on flowing. You keep on getting opportunities. You keep on saying yes. And I do. I mean, it's like, for example, last year when I won TOC for the second time, right? We had recorded it in October. Like the finale was on my birthday, October 27th, right? And they aired it in March, April, right? Around this time.
Yeah.
And only my husband knew that I had won. The kids didn't know. And I am seeing myself cook for the first time, right? Like, because I knew what I did. But when you're cooking, you're not looking at it from a third person's eye view. Like, and you're like, and I'm looking at it and something would happen and Vivek is like, dang, how did you come up with the idea? I'm like, no idea at all. It just came and I just did it. That's what it is. So to me, seeing the kids' reaction to me winning was everything. It was like jumping. And like my son is sitting right next to me and Vivek is like, so who do you think will win? Who do you think? He's like, of course mom is going to win. Like he's got that mom can do everything. And Shagun is remembering for the last couple of years, right? When there are times I made it all the way to the finale and then I lost, so she is cautiously optimistic, right? Yeah, she's seen me lose too, right? And for them, like, those are the moments, like when I get to see myself through their eyes, those are the moments when I know that I push myself as much as I do for that moment, which is beautiful.
Now, do you have the kids in the business showing them?
I wish. I wish. I've told my daughter the day she turns 14, she's washing dishes at the restaurant. You know what she told me?
What?
She told me, no, thank you. So there was a part of me which was very proud that she's got good manners.
Yeah, that's very
right?
polite.
And there was a part of me which was like, what about this entire fucking conversation made you think that it was a suggestion?
Right.
Right? I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. Right? Let's get that very clear right over here. No, neither of them are inclined in the food world yet.
I think as a parent, I don't care what they do. They could be anything, and it's like you said about your parents, as long as you're the best at it. I do take them in the business. I take them in the gym, and I know you see this too of like with football, with cooking, with art. I show them that you have people come up to us all the time and praise us and say, you're the owner of this or you do this. And I say, those are the moments you see, but I want you to see that those game days are spent in the gym, running hills, wearing yourself out, just like cleaning dishes, moving
Mopping
things
floors.
around, mopping floors,
Prep
cleaning
work.
toilets.
Yeah.
And I take them in and show them that because I want them to know it's not all glamorous.
Yeah.
It's like you said about that steady climb. It's the work you're willing to put into it.
You know, it's so interesting. This also has the, so last year we did this thing called Chefs Making Waves. So a couple of chefs were on a cruise, and we had never done a cruise, so I decided to take the family along with me. Usually when I'm doing events, I don't take the kids along. They don't know, how people react to me or anything of that sort. And they're not on social media, so they really don't see a lot of what is going on. What they see on TV with me sitting right next to them is pretty much it. So this is mommy. She's in her pajamas, right? And she is shouting at us while she's also on TV. That's normal life for them.
That's a crazy.
So
normal.
we are on the cruise, and keep in mind, people who are on the cruise, there are like 3,000 people who are on the cruise because of us. So everybody knows who you are. Usually, generally in life, people who see Food Network know you. People who don't see Food Network don't know you. So it's not that everybody knows, who the fuck you are, right? So literally, we are on the cruise, and we get on the cruise, and we are like, oh, let's go down. So there was one floor which was just for our chefs. We are like, oh, let's go down. Let's see what the buffet and all situation is. We walk down, and people just start.
Swarming you.
Yeah, we know that you're with your family, but can we take a picture? This, that. The kids got really upset, because they had never seen that. They had never, to me, I am mom, I am theirs.
Yeah.
They had not seen me being shared with so many people, right? So the first day was very overwhelming for them. And like, we went to the room and there were tears, and there was like, but we thought we were on a vacation. I'm like, no. You're on a vacation. Mommy is working. Okay, let's make it very clear. So it's interesting. There are both sides, which you kind of have to balance it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Of course, when you're on TV, I don't want to say it's acting, but there is a point of like putting on for the camera. Do you have any friends that other chefs of your magnitude that are like actually genuinely like your friends in life versus just casual, like we're on a show together?
So when I was getting off, I was getting out of the car, I was on the phone with Antonia, right?
Oh, wow.
Who, by the way, yesterday won TOC. If you guys haven't watched it, spoiler alert, yes.
Wish I would have walked over sooner.
Yeah, so I know, you guys should have got it. That's your, I'm just kidding. But we actually are all genuinely really good friends. We hang out together whenever we are doing these shows. Tiffany Faison, Stephanie Izard. We realize
sisterhood?
there is sisterhood, but there's also, a brotherhood, because you realize that as we are competing, we understand what we are going through. And we realize we are here because of something that we uniquely get. So there isn't a competition among ourselves, because we are competing for the same thing, but our approaches are completely different, right? We have a very unique way of approaching the thing. So there is a very deep layer of respect for each other, right? We also have been in the trenches together. We have taken this journey together. So we understand the hardships. We understand the fact that, if we have to roll up our sleeves and cook for 3,000 people, we will, right? We have together done charity events for chef friends who've had cancer or who've had accidents, and we are in this together. And that's what it's all about. So we genuinely, there is a lot of genuine friendship. We might not be talking to each other every day, but when we meet, boy, we create trouble.
Iron sharpens iron.
Yeah,
I've seen it locally too. You talk about camaraderie and championing each other. I've seen you also not want to see Nashville Staples close and other local restaurants where somebody that is just about the profit may go, hey, more for me. I've seen you go, no, you're important to what made me love the city.
Yeah.
And I want to keep you around.
Yeah. I have competed, especially during COVID. I have competed for a lot of the Nashville restaurants and won money for them. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm
Thank
excited about it.
Yeah.
time for the city.
Yeah. Earlier you said they call me the Dancing Spice Queen, like almost like you're surprised. I did have the honor of celebrating Chauhan being open for 10 years with you.
Thank you.
You did not stop dancing the entire time. I don't think not once, even if you're having a conversation. There was, it was an incredible time, a lot to celebrate because not everyone can say that they did that, especially through the decade that has gone to the point where that's now a staple. They say, don't meet your heroes. This job kind of forces you to do that sometimes. And that was incredible. Your personality on TV, social media versus actually getting the honor to like be around you with friends and family. It's the same person. And I don't think that happens very often.
Really? I thought
Yeah.
I was funner in person. I behave
way
myself
more
on
fun.
TV.
Yeah.
I say, well,
Yeah,
she's
I mean,
a blast. Absolutely.
But like watching you on TV, it's like very much like, oh, I could go have a drink with her. Like
Yeah.
she seems fun, and then to actually be able to say that I've had a drink with you,
Yeah.
it's what I thought it would be.
By the way, you've got some great Bollywood moves. Just saying,
Hey.
have you guys seen?
have
You should have. You should have him.
I didn't know
you
it was
should have him
Bollywood
show.
what I was
Yes.
doing.
I try not to watch when he's dancing.
Maneet, thank you so much for coming out. This was
Thank you.
amazing.
Appreciate you.
This was
Thank
so fun. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you for coming out here and doing this. You didn't have to, so that it meant a lot that you did this. I very much appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you
mean,
so
the
much.
infectious
Yeah.
personality, the dynamic, just everything you do. I think you inspired all of us here today.
Aw,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we can't wait. So I know you enjoyed this as much as I did. So make sure you hit the link, subscribe, like it, tell a friend, and we're signing off until next time.
Yep. For the love of Nashville, tune into the next one.